this is a 2010 Kia Soul, and it's a front wheel drive like most passenger cars are nowadays. It's seen some better days underneath here, but it's still functional. So right here is the oil pan. Then over here is the bottom of the transmission. This one happens to be a 5-speed manual transmission. But on a front wheel drive car, you will always find the transmission pretty much smack dab between the front two wheels. So that's, you know, the big block that's between the front two wheels is the transmission, the oil pan, and the engine usually sits on top, which is, as you saw in the other video, where that is. Okay, let's look under the car. Let's see. We've got to find oh, there it is.
Are you looking for the oil drain plug?
Oh, see, there's the oil filter on this particular car. Usually looking at the underneath the bottom of the car is where you start.
Oh, you're joking.
No.
Where's your
Okay, so here is the oil pan. Ooh. You see, it's on the bottom of everything. So you just look around until you find a plug, a bolt on the very bottom. Look like this. Now, careful. I can still feel the oil pan is pretty warm. You don't want to do this when it's hot, so we'll probably have to let the car cool down after coming back from the parts store. But underneath here, we've got our bucket positioned a little bit farther than the hole, so don't go straight down underneath here. You want to go that way a bit, because the oil is going to make an arc that way. So if
to push it back where you are.
So yeah, well, I'm in the way right at the moment. I'm laying where the oil is going to go. But if you put it straight down from the oil, you're going to overshoot it. So you want to make sure that your pan is mostly that way. Hopefully you have a long enough pan to go from about here to, you know, this far out maybe. Your pan should be that large.
I doubt this one's gonna hit the frame.
But if it's not, start out here, and then as you see the oil coming back this way, you can pull the pan so you're catching it. But our pan, let me get out here a second. Our pan is a double layered pan, and it's got a plug.
It's got two separate plugs.
It's dirty, and it's okay, because we're catching used oil. And it's got two holes in it that have plugs in it, so that when we drain the oil into this pan, it goes into the bottom bit, and then we can screw the plugs in and then take it to the auto parts store to recycle it. And so it's just contained in this pan. But we might have to put some of the other oil into the oil container once we get that emptied, but we'll get to that point. We're up on wheel blocks to make it easier, because otherwise there's no way I'd be able to get under this car. It's way too short. So we got wheel blocks, got it up there. You can't see in the back, but you know, we got something behind the back wheel just in case, parking brake. You know, put something behind the rear wheels just in case the emergency brake isn't as good as you think it might be, but just in case. Cracker loose.
That is loose.
Well, I already cracked it loose, but
I didn't know that. I guess the socket's part of it now.
Well, let's unspin it and we can get the bolt out later. And Ryder's wearing nitro gloves. They work best for gasoline and oil and things. Protect your hands so you don't have to wash, but see how far it shoots out?
I'm just too good at moving my hand out of the oil.
They just
gloves.
Yeah.
Where's
And then as it as it runs out, it's gonna get closer and closer to the oil, but we've already got it there. So yeah, sometimes they shoot out like crazy. Okay, so on the top side, you locate your fill hole, and Ryder's already opened it up. It lets things run out easier. Now I should be able to grab a hold of the oil filter and turn it. Come on, guys, go this way.
Go this way?
Yep.
You sure?
Yep. Okay. So here's a strap wrench, and you got the loose end. Goes through a little notch in the top, and it just got a handle. And we're gonna put that over what will be the oil filter, and cinch it up tight. And then you kind of, whichever way you're gonna turn, the flat part here will pinch the loose end as you turn it. So that's the way it goes on. You shouldn't have to do this, but somehow one that's on there is stuck. So we're gonna cinch the strap up tight first. There you go. There you go. Now, once you broke it loose, now you can move it by hand. And then just remember to keep your hands out of the way as it kind of just pours out of that. Oh, whoa, I'm getting splattered on. So, I'm going to just set the old filter upside down, let it run out into the pan as much as possible, and we'll let all the oil kind of just sit there and drip for a bit. There should be threaded threads on the inside, and then this little like rubber gasket. So what Ryder's gonna do is just dip into the old oil a bit, Ryder.
Oh, I thought we were gonna use
Just like swipe some, lube up the threads, and that little rubber gasket kind of, there you go, and then get in the threads. It just kind of gets everything pre-wet. So we're all pre-wet. And you're just gonna go ahead and screw that back into place, righty-tighty, and doing it by hand is just fine enough. Now the new one is in place, hand tight, as tight as you can get it by your hand. But
you want me to put the drain plug back in?
Yep, go ahead and screw the drain plug back in. And then, you see we got a little bit of drips here. We're just going to take a paper towel and wipe that off.
Otherwise it'll get hot and then
It'll just hot and smoke and smell bad. So
keep threading a little bit easier.
So you just kind of, this particular one uses a 17mm socket. And you just tighten her up. Yeah, fairly snug. It doesn't have to be super tight, but it does have to be tight enough to not leak. But just give it a good old...
Good there?
Yep, that's good enough.
Well, I mean, I just saw the engine move, so I hope so.
It'll be snug. One arm snug is good enough. Now we just gotta clean up. Let everything drip out. Okay, once you got the plugs back in, what we're going to do is going to put the filter or a funnel in there.
Is funnel clean enough?
It's clean enough. It's oil, just used oil. A little bit of used oil is not going to kill it. But
jug first?
Pour in just a little bit.
Or do you want me to start with the quart?
Yeah, start with the quart. We're going to start with a quart. Pour it all in. Damn it.
Okay.
Pouring enough into the engine to fill it up in the bottom of the pan, and then we're gonna look underneath and see if we're dripping anywhere. So I'm not gonna crawl under the car again, but
I'll do it.
So just pour enough oil in to fill up the bottom of the pan. Check for leaks. You don't want to fill up all of the oil, because if you forgot to do the drain plug or something else, and now you got a bigger mess than you need. But so do a little test. So the handy bit is that most auto parts stores will have big 5-quart jugs, because it'll take mostly 5 quarts.
Do that. You got any pokey?
So most of the do 5 quarts
These gloves
of oil. So we already put 1 quart in, so we're going to put in a little bit of this jug as soon as Ryder gets the lid off.
Oh, come on. This gloves were a mistake.
There you go.
Good enough?
Yep. So just pour in about half of the jug, and we'll do another leak check. Pour it nice and slow so you don't overfill the funnel or anything else and have a bigger mess than you need. Okay, so on the big jugs, there's markings and a light line that you can kind of see where the level of the oil is, so you know how much you put in. So we put in 1 plus 1, 2, 3 is left here. So 1, 2, 3 quarts is left out of 5. So we put in 3 already. So just a little quick math. Do one more, Ryder.
One more?
Yep. Put in about 4 quarts to start. Most engines should be 5-quart capacity, maybe 6, depending on the size of your engine. I'm gonna guess mine is closer to 5. Oil. So you're gonna find the dipstick. Where are you going?
Checking for leaks again.
Oh yeah, check for leaks.
I don't see anything.
Okay. So the dipstick is usually right up front. And it just pulls out. And you wipe off the stick in case there's any drips or something remaining from the last time it was used.
I mean, I already wiped it before because it was bored.
Stick it back all the way in and then pull it out again. And then check the markings.
Right up to the full one.
Try it again.
Looks like it's a little past full.
Alright. Okay, that's good enough.
When you start, it'll go straight into the filter.
So we will put it back in, and we'll go drive around the block, and we'll check it again in about an hour, and make sure that the level is where we want it to be. But there you go. Okay, so we just drove around the block. We're gonna check her again. Especially after you drive it, you want to wipe it off, because the oil will splash around and move around all the places it's supposed to. What you got?
A little past full.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of gap here, so it's just about full. So we're good enough. We'll drive it for a couple of days, and we'll check it again in a couple of days, and we should be good to go. Stupid plane. What the... Gosh darn it.
And this is a cut part.
Wow. Just go out of the airspace already. What the frick are you doing? Stunts? Jeez. Anyways,